I would give a little update on where I'm at right now with the Cromolyn sodium before I go to bed. And then also link a interesting video that I watched on histamine and like mast cell issues and things like that. Um, the day that I took the Cromolyn sodium, I was initially, after the first dose, I felt pretty good. And I thought that since I felt good, instead of trying to space it out, like taking it the next day twice and then taking it the next day 3 times, then the next day 4 times, that I would just take all the doses um, that day that I took the first dose. And I took the second dose about 4 hours after the first dose. And I noticed that after I did the second dose, I developed a headache about, I want to say like 15 minutes after taking it. And it was like right around the top of my head. And it was a very strange headache, not one that I typically feel with like a pressurized feeling. And I knew that it was from the medication because it just was so strange. And I typically don't feel my headaches like that, I guess. But it didn't last long. It only lasted for about 4 minutes and then it went away. And I thought, well, if that's a side effect of this medication, I found it to be manageable and didn't really think too much of it. So then I went to take the third dose, which would have been at bedtime. And because I started later in the day, I wasn't taking like the full 4 doses that were prescribed. I was only taking 3 that day. If I wanted to take like the full, amount or whatever. So I took one before I went to bed, and about half an hour after I took it, I would say maybe close to like half an hour, 45 minutes, I went to go and brush my teeth in the bathroom, and I noticed that a hive was developing on my cheek. And typically when I get hives, like after I eat something or something like irritated me, I get them by my eyes. So typically I get the hives like right around like the corners of my eyes or like up in my eyebrow area. And sometimes they will be itchy. Sometimes they won't, but I don't usually get them anywhere else on my face. I never have before. I did actually one time get one on my cheek when from an Airwick air freshener, and I had one other one from some other kind of reaction many years ago. And typically I get like angioedema swelling right under here, but that's not a hive. That's like just swelling that is in a weird shape. And then I get angioedema like right around my lips, also not a hive. It's just like swelling. And that's very strange because that's been going on for me like this past year, I would say. And it never really goes away fully. This one up here kind of does. It'll have moments where it kind of goes down and kind of goes away, but it reappears and then usually it'll be out most of the time. And these ones just happened, I would say, within the last like 3 months, maybe 4 months. And they don't really ever fully go away either. And I haven't changed any products that I use, like face washes or anything like that. So it's been kind of frustrating to figure out what's causing it, if it's like food or like cosmetic. I don't wear any makeup because I just feel it would irritate my face even more. And so it's not from like makeup. I don't even put lotion on my face currently because of just how sensitive my skin is. So I know it's not from anything topically, but when I noticed that the hive was forming, I was like, well, that's kind of weird because I didn't eat anything out of the ordinary. So I had pretty much been eating the same foods that I typically normally always would eat. I did end up buying these crackers, which were new for me, and they were gluten-free crackers. And since I'm going to be soon going like entirely gluten-free and everything, I figured that I would get some kind of a gluten-free cracker for like a snack to replace other foods. There were snacks that I had that weren't gluten-free. And this one, um, it's so hard to find all of your foods be like completely allergen free. And I'm trying my best because I'm trying to do the specific diets that I'm trying to do is low FODMAP and low histamine. And just seeing how I feel, after a few weeks of eating, hopefully as close to that as I possibly can. And um, mainly because I have discovered that I have a fructose intolerance, and it's been a large contributing factor, I think, to why I'm feeling the way that I am, and trying to just get my gut a little bit more calmed down. But so I've been eating these here and there. I ate them like twice. The first time I ate them, I didn't notice any sort of an issue, but I had these the day that I noticed the hive on my cheek. It was probably about like this big. I would say it was pretty decent size, like on my cheek, and it didn't itch. I took my Zyrtec, like I would say right before I went to go brush my teeth, probably half an hour before. And so I think that helped to minimize like the itching that I would have experienced, or like from it getting like worse than it was. But this contains soy, which I do eat soy in a lot of things. I'm going to try to avoid that more, but it says it may contain tree nuts and egg. I did have a reaction to egg not too long ago that was pretty concerning. Um, just feeling just not very good at all, but it says it may contain it, not that it does. So I don't think that necessarily was the issue. But the hard part about this condition is that you can eat something one day and feel completely fine, and it doesn't impact you or affect you in any sort of a way. And then the next day you eat the same thing and you can have a reaction to that for some reason. And then maybe another time in the future you have that food again and you don't react. It's like it has to do with the histamine levels in your system, and if they're close to being over or not, and anything can trigger it really to go over. But I also, this is one of my very favorite snacks, or it has been. It's the Popcorners Cinnamon Crunch. I love the texture of these and just love these so much. And it contains milk ingredients and it has cinnamon in it. And I did notice that a couple of days ago, not a couple of days ago, I would say earlier this week, when I was eating these, I did feel like I was getting a little bit of a reaction, like around my eyes. And then the night that I took the Cromolyn sodium for the third time that day, I had snacked on these quite a bit. I think that there was this part of me that felt like I was like somehow protected from certain reactions because I was taking that medication, even though I know it takes like weeks to kick in. And I don't know if maybe it was the cinnamon in these, or if it was a combination of the fact that where I was in my menstrual cycle, and then combined with eating these foods or whatever. But I messaged my allergist and asked, what they thought about it. And my allergist is currently out of the office still, so I have to wait for them to come back. But in the meantime, they told me just stop the Cromolyn. Do not take any more doses and just stop it right now. And so I did, and that was the only day, the day that I tried it was the only day that I took it. It made me feel a little bit sad because I was really hopeful, and I still am hopeful, that somehow this reaction that I had wasn't actually from the Cromolyn, and maybe it was from a combination of like my hormones and just feeling overwhelmed, and feeling like just eating maybe foods that were triggering a little bit, like cinnamon, or, maybe this new cracker or whatever that I tried. And so just hoping that maybe that was the issue for me and that I can try this. To my understanding, it's pretty rare to have an allergic reaction to cromolyn, but it does happen. And, it just, when I researched about it, it said if you have a reaction like that, you shouldn't take it. So I'm hoping that that's not true, because part of my New Year's resolution and part of my goal was to take it every single day. I was hoping before the start of the new year, so that I could kind of go into the new year with like that um, routine kind of. And that's not how my new year has started. And so I'm a little bit frustrated by that, a little bit thrown off by that, and just trying to do the best that I can until I get further information on what to do. But I thought that I would just give a small update as to what happened with it so far, like what kind of experience I've had so far um, with it, because I really wasn't expecting for that kind of a reaction. After the first dose that I took, I really thought that I was going to be able to tolerate it pretty well, because it seemed like it was going pretty good. The headache kind of threw me off, but I thought, well, if that's the worst of it, I'll be okay. But then it was a little bit alarming to see. And I also developed a sore throat. So it was the hive on my face, and I had a sore throat. Um, and I typically don't get a sore throat, and so that was a little bit concerning too. It wasn't like throat tightness, and it wasn't like throat swelling like I feel at times. It was just a sore throat. And after I stopped it, I don't have that feeling, and didn't like the next day when, I didn't take any of it or anything. So I'm guessing it probably was from the medication, but yeah, I just thought that I would give an update and share how it went and my experience, and then also link the video that I watched that I felt was really informative on mast cell. And one other thing that I wanted to add is, upon researching about like Ehlers-Danlos and um, why people who have Ehlers-Danlos often have, or hypermobility often have, mast cell activation disorder, I learned that your mast cells are actually in your connective tissues, and that is what causes, since your connective tissues are faulty in hypermobility spectrum disorders and Ehlers-Danlos, that is what triggers and causes the mast cell issues. And I don't know, like, so many videos that I've watched about these conditions seem like they're trying to figure out answers as to why they're all kind of linked, and like what's the root cause. And every once in a while you'll come across a video that will explain it and give like the explanation for it, but it's almost like these other places haven't found that information yet, and so they're still looking for it or something. But I found that really interesting to hear that the mast cells are stored in your connective tissue, and that just makes so much sense why it would be an issue and why you would have this condition if you have issues with your tissues and you have Ehlers-Danlos or hypermobility spectrum disorder. And so yeah, I just wanted to kind of make a video and give an update and just kind of share that, and maybe somebody else will find that interesting as well, and find that helpful. So that is it for this one.